Hey, it's Friday, March 7th, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. I am Brannon, Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps, where we as a collective of small martial arts school owners, of small business owners, of entrepreneurs who are just trying to figure out this thing called life. Right? We want to be profitable, we want to create a business that works for us and have the type of freedom we deserve and live our version of success. That's it. And that's what I think makes the show so cool is I am you. I'm still in the trenches. I like to teach. I love my business. I love what I do. I love the freedom it's given me. I love the wealth that it's cultivated for me and the blessings it's given me. So I like to share that with people and help them create the same for themselves. Cool. So let's start by thanking our sponsors. And as you come aboard, please say hello. Bob Poole. All right. Always Bob Poole of Gold Martial Arts. Thank you, sir, for supporting us. Decade. Seems like a decade now, is it? We have Tusaw, the best in martial arts supplies, market muscles, website, my studio, CRM system, Kids Love Life Skills Education, LC Accounting for your bookkeeping and accounting needs, and can create it for your digital needs. I use these companies. They're not simply my sponsors. I work with these companies. I use these services in my business, and they're a big part of the foundation of what we do in our businesses at One Martial Arts. And I recommend you explore all of these businesses to help create your version of success. Cool. What do we got coming up, Marco? We have It's Time Life Freedom in November, 20 school owners, 4 days. It's life-changing. And this one is appropriately called It's Time Life Freedom. I want to help you create the freedom you deserve, through the schools that you have, the businesses you're cultivating. The only way to do that is come join us for 4 days. It is life-changing. Outdoors, meditative walks. We eat really good. We cover all the things you need, from systems to staff development to culture to curriculum development, everything that goes into being a successful business owner. But what matters if we make all that money? Then we also discuss how to take that money and turn it into a passive revenue stream for you to cultivate the wealth you deserve, right, to be successful. So it's all encompassing, and it really does embody very unique opportunities, relationships, experiences. It happens, but we can only do that in a very controlled environment of 20 school owners. So make that investment in yourself. You are your best investment. The link is there. Marco will post it for you, and make sure you get signed up for It's Time Live Freedom. And then, of course, our It's Time group mentoring. We just got out of a session now. I'm just amazed by the team every day, what they bring to the table, their own unique take on the whole mindset of it's time. It's time you really create a business that works for you. It's time that you live out your dreams. It's time that you create the freedom you deserve. It's time. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the mindset and the why of it's time. We're in that moment making stuff happen to create our versions of success. The neat thing is that we're in your back pocket. I just said the two guys now, give me a call and we'll happily discuss that. So my team and I are always there for you 24/7, 365, because it's the day-to-day that really moves that needle. Cool? So Marco will put the link for that as well. And if you're here, say hello. If you're bored, I love talking to you. So today's a really, really meaningful episode for me, because I understand that other than the government with tax laws and different things, nobody tells me what to do in my business. Every day I wake up and I make or I break it. Every day. And so promptly, I ask myself on a daily basis, am I my own best friend or my own worst enemy? So I want you to really think for a moment. In your business, do you truly believe you're helping your business or hurting your business? Okay. And in some arenas, you could be helping your business really, really well, but other areas of your business, unintentionally, you might be hurting your business, hurting it. And today, what I hope to do is to go into that on a much deeper level. And I've learned, for me, my biggest success today with the demographic, the team I'm working with the people that I serve. Humility is really, really important. If anything, it's becoming a novelty, right? We look at our world at large and people running around filled with ego, bravado, machismo. It's just this whole level. And I don't believe it's sustainable. It eventually implodes because for me, it's a very fear-based thinking. Do what I say because I pay you. I'm the boss. Even worse, a lot of your team might have grown up in your martial arts business. So you look at them, I'm the master and you're the student. At some point, and I really learned that in with my team, they might have been this 8-year-old kid at one point, and I was the master to them, the instructor, but eventually they grow up. And if we don't start seeing each other eye to eye in communication and everything that we do, then I will never empower that team to have the autonomy to go out there and teach at a level better than me, which provides me with that freedom. And often the common things I hear when I'm my own worst enemy, it's common sense. Wow. Or I just might as well do it myself. So we're going to kind of look at two categories today: when you're being an enemy to your business and when you're being a friend. Okay. So, of course, I'm going to cover this one more because that's what we tend to live and we suffer from. So, one of the things I encourage you to do to yourself, if you're a one person show, and I learned this from Rudy Mick, who's one of my mentors, text yourself one thing you did well today and one thing you could do better. It's a system of checks and balances that I employ to allow me to be the best version of myself, to be the best example I can be for my team. Okay. So I do. As I'm wrapping up, I say, what did I do really well today? Well, I taught great classes. What was great about them? I said everybody's name in the class. I made sure to support every student in that class with a correction or a praise. Okay, great. What could I have done better? Well, I was very short. I cut that parent off because I was trying to get back on the mat to teach. Okay, great. So I'm going to lean into what I did wrong first, right? I was very short with the parent. I cut him off. Okay, there needs to be a system there. What system needs to be there? Well, utilize my team to do the warm up and stretch so that I have the confidence to stand there and finish that conversation with the parent in that moment when they need me most. You with me? So see how that works? I mean, it's pretty powerful. But again, if I'm not recognizing the things I can do better, I will never, ever begin to cultivate the skill set needed to be a level 5 leader. Right? Hey, Jason from Believe Martial Arts, Monique, Karate for Girls. See how I say that? Karate for Girls. I like that. That should become a ringtone, and that's everybody. They can use that in your school and your culture. And that's really important because at one point, when I lived in a state of insecurity, and we're still human, I still suffer from insecurities, is I did run around with this facade of I'm the master, and at the time, physically I could beat you up. So I'd kick your butt in a sparring class and just really lame, inappropriate things that would never build a brand. And I shared that. I've shared that with everyone. My first school, I was 19 years old down in LA, right? And it closed in 9 months. It was gone. 9 freaking months. Because my business was based upon me fighting tournaments and everybody who came through the door was fresh meat. I was just inappropriate and lame. And I learned a lot from that. You cannot have a quality relationship if you live from ego, right? Because everybody's going to go. I take the geo. Everyone's going to go away from you after a while because it's just not fun. It's not sustainable. But I get it, especially in the martial arts community. If we think, when you think the word humility, humans often hear the word humiliated, right? What do you mean? I said that to somebody one time. It's very important we practice humility. What do you mean? You humiliated? I never said that. But that's what you hear from conditioned thinking. So again, it's hard to get to a place of humility, or as I say, to be humble. Humble is a great word. It's hard to be humble when you're constantly living through um, conditioned thinking of ego, of that being that comes, right? I'm happy to get on the floor and be a dork. I'm more than happy to do that. That's why I do some of my best growing. And if I allow myself to be humble, then if some kid taps me out or something, I don't care. It's all right because it's still a pathway to me becoming a better version of myself, right? Right? So that's a really big one. Every night, I want you to text yourself one thing you did well today and one thing you could do better. If you do that consistently and you follow through, build on the strengths, recognize the weaknesses, then the life skill of humility will be yours. And you can now move from the enemy column to the friend column. If I'm a humble person, I'm living in the friend column, and that will help support my business and do well, right? To do really well. So, and that humility definitely cultivates into your team. And the more you live from a state of humility, the more you strip away ego. And that ego is, it's hard for an ego to be strong. It's hard for insecurity to be strong when you live from a humble heart. So, how do you cultivate that? Well, other than writing one thing you did well today and one thing you could do better, journal. I want you to journal. I'm going to encourage that. Journaling allows me to express a lot of things that may just come through my mind, but may not help me be a friend in my business. I believe, and write this down, I'm not responsible for what I think. I'm responsible for what I do. Write it down. I'm not responsible for what I think. I'm responsible for what I do. Cool? Think about that for a moment. Write it down and take a look at it. And again, people that are coming aboard, say hello. Say hello, say hello, say hello. Who you are, where you tuning in from, and what school. I love it. We get people from as far as Switzerland and Australia, and I'm just tickled pink that people would. Is that possible to be tickled pink? That's an old saying. I'm just very grateful that people choose to share their time with me. Cool. So take a look at that for a minute, right? Take a look at that. And I want you to think about how that can impact your business. You wrote it down. Okay, now take a look at it and tell me what you get from that. Anybody that's here, Bob or Monique, tell me what you get about that. That thing? Come on. Because always the path to being a better version of myself is to talk out loud, is to, sit in rooms like this and be vulnerable and cultivate that, right? To cultivate that. So while you're thinking about that, I'll move forward. With Fortune 500 companies, emotional intelligence is now becoming a huge commodity. They no longer simply look at your resume. They really look for that aspect of emotional intelligence. What have you taken to develop that? What is your reputation, as somebody with emotional intelligence? That has a lot of weight in the real world, right? But best friend, worst enemy. I'm my best friend when I'm living in a state of humility. I truly am. But it still needs to be a professional working environment. And I think in some ways the scales had tipped way, way over to the other side. Case in point, a standard meme I see floating around social media is 18-year-old kid back in 1940 storming the beach in Normandy, right? Fighting World War II. An 18-year-old today crying out and protesting, I need safe space on this campus because I don't like what people are saying around me. So there has to be a certain amount of just, come on, let's put on our big boy pants and our big girl shoes and let's behave at a level where we add value to our companies and we behave as our own best friend. Because my own best friend, stay with me now and visualize this. I'm at a party. I have food on my face. I don't know it. I go into the bathroom, right? I just finished this conversation. I go into the bathroom. I'm going, oh man, I have food on my face. Why didn't anybody tell me? Right? But true teammates, people that are my friends, if I'm out there and I have food on my face, they're going to look at me and go, and I'm going to remove the food from my face. You with me? And that happens with us every day. every day. And if you can have that sense of emotional intelligence in your business, everything changes. Everything changes. Cool? Everything changes. Another one that I got today that was very valuable to me, we often say, and again, being a little bit older, that is common sense. Okay? If I want to be my own worst enemy in my schools, I'm going to walk around telling everybody that's common sense. That's common sense. That's common sense. One, it's very condescending to your team. It's very judgmental to your team, right? And it doesn't endear you, creating better bonds with your team. So put it in the comments. Who's ever said, well, that's common sense? Put it in there. Big part of my personal growth is taking ownership and accountability for my actions. And if I keep them out in the open, if I'm transparent, then I no longer have to create this facade of smoke and mirrors because I am being my own worst enemy. And there's a part about me I don't like. So I'm going to create this smoke and mirrors facade so I don't have to reveal that to you. If I share with you something I don't like about myself, I feel inadequate, I feel vulnerable, I feel lesser than. And how can I do that when I am the leader of the band, right? But today's emotional intelligence, it is really the strength of a level 5 leader to be vulnerable, to be expressive, to talk about their personal challenges, along the pathway to fulfilling a common goal in our business, right? But like I said, nobody cares what I feel. So it's not about that. It's about sharing that thought, that feeling you're going through, because it's going to help fulfill your brand promise to the people that you serve. And if mine is live your best life, then I know I'm going to express this to you because it's a pathway to helping us fulfill our brand promise to our team, to our families, to our friends, our students, and the people that we serve. You with me? So there's a very thin line there between being your own best friend and your own worst enemy in your business. And can you draw those lines clearly? How else am I able to be my own best friend and my enemy? I've used this metaphor many, many times with my clients, and I'll share it with you now. If I have one finger pointed at you, I have three pointed back at me. This is where I live. Finger pointing, you're your own worst enemy in your business. You truly are. And if I ever find myself sometimes, and I'm ever mindful to cycle it through several times repeatedly, sometimes, prime example, if somebody's on their cell phone at work, okay, and you tell them it is our policy, it's in our rules, there's no cell phone use while you are working. Your cell phone is supposed to be in the instructor's room, the staff room, in your backpack. It needs to be put away. So then I can point a finger and wag it and go, you're not supposed to be you're not supposed to be on your cell phone, or I can own these three. What can I do as management? Well, I want to make sure that when you do get your break, if you work more than 4 hours, you're allowed to check your cell phone then. Or I'm going to encourage you, I'll put you on the clock 15 minutes before your shift. And I'm going to pay you to check your cell phone and do what you need to do. See, it depends how you want to approach that, right? And again, having humility, I'm willing to seek to understand my team versus taking this hard position. And if you're like us and we work with a lot of millennials and high school kids and different things like that, there are no hard and fast rules. Right? Yesterday, a kid said, I have a tournament this weekend for golf. I won't be able to help support you today in class. I need to, practice for this golf tournament. I went, no problem. No problem. So again, my humility makes me understand I need to be empathetic. Write that down. Empathetic. If I'm to be my own best friend, there has to be a certain amount of empathy Empathy, seek to understand versus being understood, right? That's how I define empathy. Seek to understand versus being understood. Now, stay with me. Stay with me. The challenge with empathy, seek to understand versus being understood, I can often fall into a victim mindset, right? A victim mindset. And that's where I make a million excuses as to why I'm not changing something. I'm not moving the needle in my business. My business isn't getting better. It's because of the weather. It's because of the economy. It's because of this person or that situation. Again, those are things I'm not in control of, or things I can't really have an impact on. And when we talk about seeking to understand versus being understood, I understand who I am. I understand the goals of my business, right? So I don't need other people to understand it or seek to be understood, in other words. So I'm able to function from a place of confidence when I seek to understand. That requires to actively listen, to lean in, and to genuinely listen from a purpose. Live your best life. Live your best life. Live your best life. I want to help you live your best life. That is what people pay me. That's what people pay our business good money for, because we help them live their best life. Not mine, not my opinion, not my judgment, any of that. It's really about actively listening, and empathy is one of those life skills. Seek to understand. Man, if I'm seeking to understand you and what your needs are or your child's needs are in my martial arts school, man, I am definitely going to be a friend of my business. You with me? You with me? But if I take this hard stance, and I've often heard this from school owners that I work with, the parent must understand. Who's heard that one before, or who said that before? Anybody? Put it in the comments. Let me take a deep breath. And for those of you that are here, all the new people, say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. What's the name of your school? Right? We've all said that. We've all heard that. The parent must understand. Now, I understand that's probably coming from a place of frustration. Yeah. But if I'm to be a friend in my business, it is important that I understand people, not the other way around. Not the other way around, right? Of course, in a more meaningful relationship with my team and stuff, you know, reciprocating empathy, seeking to understand each other should be a must. That's a given. That's a given at some point in that relationship. What's up, Chris Cameron? New Zealand. Wow, we got New Zealand in the house. What's up, Chris? We're just talking, Chris, about am I a friend or am I an enemy in my business? And as I shared at the top of the show, other than the government with tax laws and things like that, nobody tells me what to do. I wake up every day and I make it or I break it every day, you know, every day. So we were just discussing, Chris, about when we say a parent needs to understand. It's the opposite. That's why the life skill of empathy, seeking to understand people, is real important. But there's a thin line where I go from understanding people to just being a victim. Nobody understands me. Whoa, poor me. That's why the parent must understand. Hey, what's up, Ralph from Switzerland? What's up, Ralph? So I recognize that I am not a victim in my personal life or my business. I chose this path. I carved this path, right? I lead people on this path. I know what I signed up for. I will never be a victim in my business. I will never climb on a pity pot and go, poor me, poor me. Oh, it's so lonely at the top. Nobody understands me, right? Because I'm being an enemy of my business at that point. Anytime I live in a victim mindset, I'm going to hurt my business tremendously. And that's why one of my brand absolutes is to always live in the solution, not the problem. Because the mindset that created the problem will never solve the problem. It takes a different mindset to solve a problem. So, again, when we discuss live your best life, that's my brand, right? It helps me be my own best friend in my business. One of the brand absolutes, we never say we have a problem. We will always say we have a challenge. My challenge I'm having, and it's never really directed at the person, it's more the situation. So never be my challenge I have with you. It would be, the challenge I'm having is in our, because we're one martial arts, and our communication is ABCD. You with me? So again, if I want to be my own best friend in my business, we discussed humility. We've discussed empathy, right? We've discussed living from a set of core values that fulfills the brand promise of live your best life. Because I do know, clear as day, every day I wake up, I'm going to be my own best friend or I'm going to be my own worst enemy. I have that choice. I have the freedom of choice every day to be one or the other. And I would truly believe that if I am my own best friend in my business, to myself, to my family, to my team, to the students that train with us, to the parents that bring them there, if I am my own best friend, I will serve everybody better. So we talked about humility. We talked about empathy. Let's talk about another real, write this down, real important. Gratitude. Write it down. Gratitude. And we've heard it so many different ways, but let's take the old age-old cliche. Is my cup half full or is my cup half empty? Right? We've all heard that. Is my cup half full or is my cup half empty? Well, scientifically, if I put a half a cup of water in front of us, it is half full. It is half empty, correct? It is, right? So then it becomes a mindset. How do you choose to look at that? And I believe if I choose to look at that cup as being half full, I'm already cultivating gratitude. I'm already cultivating gratitude. You with me? All right. So I try to temper that with little sayings and belief systems that help trigger gratitude. One of them is, I complained I had no shoes until I saw a man with no feet. And this makes my wife crazy sometimes because when we're going through a bad patch or going through challenge, I said, well, we could be living in the Middle East. And she goes, well, what do you mean by that? Well, it could be much worse. And I don't want to make it worse by being ungrateful. So I choose to be grateful, right? Grateful. Now stay with me because I like to play with words. Grateful. Write this down. Not GRATEFUL. Write down GREATFULL. Grateful. Okay? Full of greatness. That's how I look at being a grateful person. When I am full of gratitude or I am grateful, I am full of greatness. I'm at the best place to be a friend of my business. So, I know this is a little strange, but if I'm living from that state of gratitude, I'm grateful if you sign up for a trial and you don't show. I'm grateful if you ask for information and you never sign up for a trial. I'm grateful if you come in for the trial and you don't sign up. I'm grateful if you do decide to sign up after the trial. I'm grateful if you stay for a month. I'm grateful if you leave after a day. I'm grateful if you're there for 5 years. I'm grateful if you're there for a week. Because my state of mind when it comes to being grateful does not hinder upon what's going on externally. So when I wake up in the morning, part of what helps me get into that grateful mindset is I meditate. And for me, I pray. I meditate. I create that mindset of gratitude. First thing I do when I wake up is I'm grateful I woke up because somebody in this world died in their sleep last night. That's a fact. We know that's data. So when I wake up and I go, wow, I get another day. So what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for this warm bed I'm sleeping in. What am I grateful for? I have my health today and I get to get up and exercise and be the best me. What else am I grateful for? For me, it's my spirituality. What else am I grateful for? My wife, my kids. What else am I grateful for? My team. What else am I grateful for? Being able to serve the community. What else am I? And I go through this long gratitude list. And if I'm not in a state of gratitude, I stay there until I am. Because by the time my feet hit the ground, I need to be in that state of gratitude. So if you want to be your own best friend in your business, I'm telling you right now, gratitude is going to be a big one, a very, very big one. Cool? So if you're coming aboard, say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. And I know Ralph just came aboard, so let's summarize. We talked about, again, other than the government, who tells us what to do as small business owners? Nobody. Every day you wake up, Ralph, you're either your own best friend or you're your own worst enemy, right? And I want to be my own best friend because it allows me to fulfill my brand promise to the community of living your best life. In your case, be excellent, right? You want to be excellent? Well, I believe if you're an empathetic person, you have humility, and you have gratitude, you are being most excellent. Okay? See how that all ties together? And then maybe we take that and we decide in our culture of live your best life, and we do because we do different life skills. Humility is one of the life skills we go over. Empathy is one of the life skills we go over. Gratitude is one of the life skills we go over. Because if I create this community of like-minded people, guess what? Your school is going to grow. Imagine if every student and parent in your school was really, truly grateful they get to be part of your martial arts school. Do you believe that's going to retain them longer? Yes, sir. Do you believe that's going to weather a storm when they're having difficulties in your school? Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. So see how we take something that's so meaningful to help us be our own best friend and how it impacts everybody. Because it's like the ripple effect. If I drop a pebble into water, it ripples outwards. So make no mistake, if you're cultivating through systems and checks and balances to be your own best friend, you are going to have incredible impact on your business. Incredible. And you will grow that business because there's a thing, and stay with me, called the law of attraction. Who's ever heard? Hey, Brooke. What's up, Brooke? Welcome. Who's ever heard of the law of attraction? Put it down. The law of attraction. So the law of attraction is a premise, a philosophy, a belief system that I can attract abundance into my space. So the law of attraction tells me I can attract an abundance of students into my school. Great. Okay. I can attract wealth into my space. I can attract good relationships into my space. I can attract. But the yin to the yang of that is when someone says to you, bad things always happen to me. I always attract, bad people. No, you're putting that energy out there. You may not realize it. It's a very subconscious thing. You might call it bad luck, but you're putting out bad energy. So again, humility, empathy, gratitude, 3 powerful life skills, right? That allow me to be a friend of my business, allow me to attract abundance into my space. And if through the life skills we teach in our schools, we're actively teaching gratitude and people are more grateful when they walk into your school, that's a good day. That's retention 101, right? Retention 101. So I do believe in the law of attraction. I know most of the suffering I had in my life, other than when I was a child, and I was indeed a victim as a child, right? I share that passionately. I was an innocent child who was hurt and abused. I didn't ask for that. I didn't attract that. That's what I was born into. But today, I say passionately, it's what's made me who I am. And so I'm very grateful. All right. I'm grateful for the life that I had growing up. Because you know why? If I'm not grateful, then I'm constantly going to play the tapes over and over of what went wrong in my childhood. And they call that depression. You're depressed because you keep playing those tapes over and over and you want them to be different. You want the ending of this movie to be different. It will never be different. No matter how many times I watch The Godfather, the end of the movie is always the same. You with me? So it's the same thing here. If I'm going to be the best friend in my business, I cannot live in the past. I build upon the good things and all of it, but I don't live in the past because I can't change the past. And if you want to be a growth oriented business, if you want to be a business that sustains itself, if you want to be a legacy business, in our case, 25 years now in San Francisco with this business, 10 in Millbrae, I'm constantly reinventing, tweaking, bettering every aspect of that business. Every aspect. Every aspect. And I can only do that if I am my own best friend. Because my best friend would tell me, hey man, you got food on your face. And I would promptly wipe it off. And that's happened to me. And that's how I've often made many new friends. I'll be in the middle of a conversation at some, event. I have food on my face. The guy person will look at me who barely knows me and goes, and I wipe it. I go, that's the guy I want to know. Right? That's the guy I want to know. He's got my back and he barely even knows me. That's so cool. That's so cool. So again, to be my own best friend and function from the law of attraction by living humble, grateful, empathetic, you can attract quality people into your space. You just do. And we witness it every day because it's a big part of what we do. And when somebody shows up 30 minutes early, all right, we're not talking about dropping off the kid and going to, shopping. We're talking about the whole family coming in 30 minutes before class, sitting there hanging out. And then class is over and they're still hanging out. They don't even know why, because they're attracted to the space you're creating because you are a friend of your business. You with me? Questions, put them in there. I know this is a little deep today on this level, but what I've really learned is the information's out there, the nuts and bolts, the systems, the basic business practices that you need to create a successful business. It really is there. So the question becomes, why aren't you? Because you're choosing to be an enemy of your business today. That's it. That's it. You're the only person that's going to make or break that business on a daily basis. That's why with all the clients that I work with, I say to them, at the end of this conversation, don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody because we don't do the work for you. You're the one who has to wake up every day and do the work. Do the right work, but you have to do the work. But if you're an enemy of your business, then you have those days, and we've all had those days where we spend 14 hours at work. Other than teaching classes, we look around and go, I didn't get anything done. Well, I did sit at social media for a couple hours. Then I had to take a lunch break for myself. And, then after that, and you get nothing done. That's a classic example of being an enemy. It's called self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. And that's an example of being an enemy to yourself, which in turn makes you an enemy of your business. Everybody with me? So then brings me to the next one. Discipline. Discipline means to always do your best. And if I'm going to be a friend and the success of my business, I need to live by discipline. I need to live in a state of discipline. That doesn't mean punishing myself and beating myself up, which I'm really good at, and I'm sure we all are at different times in our lives. It's only Western culture that looks at discipline as disciplinary action or punishment, right? It's very stereotypical. We all know I was disciplined. I was punished. They go synonymously in hand. In a lot of other cultures, discipline is a way of life, living a disciplined lifestyle. So to mitigate some of that and put a nice bow on it and make it great for a 4-year-old, we define discipline as to always do your best. To always do your best. And you know, as an adult, when you're doing your best and when you're not. And when you're not doing your best, excuses, victim mindset, analysis paralysis, you think your way into a state of paralysis and you do nothing. All of those different types of actions, or as I say, inactions, will rear their ugly head. And if you're humble enough to recognize that, oh, it's easy to get back on track. I know for me, I don't want one bad day to turn into one bad week, to turn into one bad month, to turn into a year. And that's how your business either stagnates, declines, or you end up losing it. You're allowed to have a bad day. That is very real. That is life. But it is your choice if that one bad day is going to turn into a bad week, turn into a bad month, turn into a bad year. You with me? So, again, much like my morning ritual of meditation and prayer, creating a grateful mindset, I implement a system of checks and balances that help me be my friend every day. Okay, I get a massage every Monday, 90 minutes, non-negotiable. It's a brand absolute in my life. Before I go in to teach, I make sure I always shower and shave. Now, I know people that roll into work and it's like, I will not step out of a dressing room unless I'm in my uniform with my belt on. And like I shared in my group mentoring, imagine Superman without his cape. You are a hero to many of these kids. So if you're going to be a friend in your business and you decide, I got to go to the bathroom so my belt's around my neck, because you're disciplined. An undisciplined person says, I forgot. An disciplined person will say, I'll get it next time. A person of discipline consistently. What I love about discipline, it allows me to be consistent. Write that down. Write it down. Write it down. And let's recap. So we talked about humility. We talked about empathy. We talked about gratitude. And we talked about discipline, right? We talked about discipline. All those things would allow me to be a friend of my business. Super, super important. Because you are the leader of the band. You are the head instructor. And every day you make it or you break it. And so when I put all of those together, what it offers me is consistency. There's no way you're ever going to move your business forward or your personal life forward. And we know human nature, we all need to have goals and achieve goals. Why? It is the pathway to being a better version of yourself. And if you choose to make that investment and you're consistently working to be a better version of yourself, your business is going to grow. Your life is going to grow. At the minimum, when I have a storm to weather in my life or a storm to weather in my business, which if you're self-employed, you will. God, you will. We are in like baseball. We're in baseball or basketball where they call it a failure sport. Think about that. A great basketball player is shooting 40%, right? That means he misses 60% of the time. It's a failure sport. Think about a great hitter. They might bat 400, 450. That means 55% of the time they fail. So they fail more than they succeed. It's a failure sport. And in your business, you will have months you fail. You'll have students who quit. You'll have people that are unhappy with you. You'll have bad months in your business. So and sometimes we're in that failure sport. But as I go through those times, I know if I am optimal, if I'm the best friend to myself, weathering those storms, getting the lessons I need to learn from them, taking them to improve myself, improve my business, will only be this. But as I shared earlier, if I allow this to happen, one bad day becomes one bad week, becomes one bad month, becomes one bad year, what does that do for me? And I know through living a disciplined life, rolling back to the law of attraction, I love attracting good people into my space. I love it. I love learning from a 4-year-old as much as I, teach them. I teach them because living in the moment, we hear that quite consistently. But what I'm asking you to do is to be present, to be mindful, right? Mindful. We're always thinking, we're always paying attention to being in the present moment. All that matters to me is this one word I just shared with you, and it's gone. Now it's the next word I share with you. I'm very big on being present in the moment. And that's like the saying goes. The present is called the present because it is a gift. And if I have the ability to be really present, every breath I take will be a gift. That allows me to be my best friend in my business. Because when I'm on the mat teaching and I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat for dinner, can I teach effectively? No, no, no. When I'm walking down that line with pads and I'm in the moment, each child gets a moment where we connect and I'm truly in that moment with them. Instead of thinking, wow, how long is this line? I got to get to the end of it so everybody hits the pad once. No, no. Bruce Lee said it quite well. The fingers pointing to the moon. Enter the Dragon. Go watch it. The fingers pointing to the moon. Do not concentrate on the finger or you'll miss all the heavenly glory. It's the same thing here. It takes great focus, great discipline to be in the moment. And when you wear a lot of hats in your business, which you do, it's very easy to be distracted. It's almost justifiable when you don't get things done to better your business. Well, I had to do A, B, C, and tomorrow I got to do D, E, F. And as noble as that sounds, it still does not change the fact you didn't do what you were supposed to do to better yourself, to better your school, and to grow it. And if that is the case, you're an enemy. Now, the friend will go, hey man, that's one bad day. We're all entitled to that as a human being. I can't wait for tomorrow. What I learned today, tomorrow is going to be magic. But I must be in the moment to whatever's going on to really learn what I can improve upon. And that's why, again, you talk about the consistency of these habits that I'm sharing with you. When I wake up the next day, I'm even more grateful and excited for that new day because that new day is going to allow me to rock because I learned something from the previous day and I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go out there. And so relating back to humility again for a moment, because I'm kind of bouncing on this one because it was the first one we talked about. Learn to say you're sorry. Learn to be accountable. I say this one all the time. 90% of what goes on wrong in my business is my fault. The other 10% is my fault. And if I can live by that, then I'm not, again, going back to the finger pointing. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm really taking ownership and the peace it gives me to know this is within my control. I'm fully accountable for it. I own it. This is not. And when I realize it's not in my control and there's nothing I can do to impact it, no matter how much my ego or insecurity wants to go, well, no. In the words of Frozen, let it go. I let it go. That's super important for me because we can spend a lot of time in a state of fear insecurity, and we fixate on something we cannot change, we can have no impact on, and it just hurts every other area of our business. Are you with me? Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a rough one. So, in summary, I wake up every day. I'm my own best friend or I'm my own worst enemy. Every day. Every day. And is it work? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. Is it hard? Yes. Yes. So I need to practice humility. I need to become empathetic. I need to cultivate a mindset of gratitude. I need to be disciplined and I need to be consistent. And it all ties into my brand, live your best life. And if I can do that, I attract like minded people into my space that are inspired to live their best life. People come to us because we help them and their children live their best life. We inspire them through our examples. We inspire them through our humility, our empathy, our gratitude, our discipline. And for that, I am my own best friend in my business, and it allows me to consistently, year in and year out, thrive through good times and bad. Cool? All right, put your takeaways in there. I want to know your takeaways. And while we do that, let's go through the paces here, Marco. Let's thank our sponsors, who I love, Tucson Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, Kin Creative, all businesses I work with, all services that help drive my business and have a huge impact on everything that we do. Cool? Are you putting in your takeaways? I want to know your takeaways today. Give me your takeaways. Of course, we have It's Time Live, Freedom coming up November 8th through 11th. Only 20 school owners. It's our 9th year. It's an amazing event. It always sells out. Spend 4 days with me and my team. And I think you'll be inspired to no end. Put the link in there for the Marco so they sign up for that as well. Put in your takeaways. I want to know your takeaways. And then, of course, we have our group mentoring. I think it's unlike anything out there because the 4 of us are with you 24/7, 365, one text away, one phone call away, and we genuinely care. We're in the trenches like you are. We're not somebody that sits behind a desk and hypothesizes about what you should do in your business. We actively listen. We take all of our resources and learning and we bring it to the table to help you create your version of success. And that's our It's Time group mentoring. I think the challenge with this work that we're discussing today is you don't see tangible results right away. You don't see the benefits, right, of how it can earn you more money in your business. Well, I'm here to tell you it can and it does. I'm living proof of that. I always suffered in a state of mediocrity, of self-sabotage when I was not fulfilling my personal brand promise to me of living my best life. I was always my own worst enemy. I always sabotaged what success that I had. I always made excuses and I lived in this state of ego and insecurity. Cannot be a level 5 leader that way. You cannot. And the ones that behave that way implode. There's always an overthrow, right? There's a coup because people will only tolerate that kind of attitude and thinking for so long. And it will hurt your business tremendously. And I know that firsthand. The guy with a school in LA, in 9 months it was closed because every night I'm beating up people or getting beaten up. And when I learned that, especially when it comes to being on the mat, if you hurt somebody, you look bad. If they hurt you, you look bad. So stop trying to hurt people or get hurt. Create environments of training where you can grow and challenge one another and be the best version of yourself. But no reason to hurt each other, right? But because a lot of martial arts was fear-based, because it's all about self-defense, 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 which has a certain amount of fear wrapped around it, we tend to lose sight of what we're here to do. Mine is to help you, myself, my team, my family, my students, everybody live their best life. That is what we do. So what is your why? Why are you here? And if all honesty, you are being your best friend in your business versus your own worst enemy, I'm hard pressed to believe you are not going to thrive. You are not going to be profitable, or at least live a meaningful life that at the end of your time here on earth, you can be proud of. You can go back and, yeah, man, I did good, you know? And for me, doing good is being good. That's important. And if I'm doing good, I'm being good. And that state of being, which I talk about quite passionately, is what allows me to be a best friend in my business. Cool? All right. No takeaways? No takeaways? Let's thank everybody. Bob Poole, Jason, Monique, Chris, all the way from New Zealand, Ralph, all the way from Switzerland. How cool is that? New Zealand and Switzerland in the house. I'm just so grateful that you all choose to be here. And I'll leave you with that. Again, I'm always nurturing my mindset, cultivating my mindset, manifesting my mindset. When people ask me, Brannon, how you doing? My reply will always be, I am grateful. And it constantly is a habit. I'm reinforcing, right? I'm cultivating a state of being. So if you ask me, how's it going? I'm grateful. I'm grateful. How was your day? I'm grateful. What's new? I'm grateful. So again, that to me helps put my mindset where it needs to be a friend in my business. And I'm grateful. Everybody that's here today, Ralph, Switzerland, Chris, and New Zealand, I'm just grateful to all of you. Brooke, for hanging out. I'm grateful to all of you. Cool? So I am Brannon Beliso. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my podcast, Success Never Sleeps, on all the major platforms. Make sure that you follow me at Instagram. For everything else, go to brannonbeliso.com. Cool. All right. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, what are you going to go out there and do? Live your best life.